This is The Righteous View with your host.
That's nice.
This is The Righteous View with your hosts, Avia Byers, Deborah Hoskins, and Christina McCormick.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to The Righteous View.
Yes.
I am Avia Byers, and we have our weekly podcast. We'll focus on topics regarding women of all ages. Of course, our mission is to foster and focus on topics concerning women. So our mission is to foster righteous and open dialogue on topics that have been taboo within our communities, our social communities. We want to activate and cultivate open and healthy, mature women, young women, and our goal and provide factual information to these demographics concerning our biological, psychological, or physiological also, and spiritual existence. So I'm introducing tonight my beautiful guest or beautiful co-host, Christina McCormick. Deborah Hoskins is busy working on she has a big weekend with Faith Tabernacle of Faith in ministry in Laurinburg, North Carolina. And we have a flyer that we're gonna show. So she has a big weekend ahead of her for her ministry. And so if you are in the North Carolina area, we're gonna just go ahead and show that flyer. I believe it's up already, the flyer.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that is, yes. So she is going to, yes, there we go. It is called Stop the Violence. And it is being hosted by Shining Light Temple of Faith. And it's a community event. So they're going to be in Market Park, and it's 704 Lees Mill Road in Laurinburg, North Carolina. Now, there is a phone number, and they are asking everyone to just come out. They are going to be having live praise and worship. They're going to be having ministry out there and love people hands on. You know, sometimes ministry, we get so caught up in our little areas. We don't get out there and get to the people. So this is one of events, open air event, where she's going to be there. The ministry is going to be reaching out to their community concerning violence in their neighborhoods. So also they're going to be having an open Shabbat service that which is this Sabbath coming up on Saturday. And just if you want information of where their ministry is, Shining Light Temple of Faith, please call the number on the screen. If you would like, what we can do is just, Christina, why don't we just leave the flyer up there as we're going through so people can have the time to take down the number if they would like to take the phone. So yes, we just want to put that out there. Also, our sister Patricia Douglas will not be on this evening either. She will be back with us. They will both hopefully be back with us next week. Finish up this marriage segment of the righteous view. So we're going to get right on into this our show tonight.
Yes. And I want to
And
say we are live on Facebook at the Hebraic Awakening and the Righteous View. If you missed the podcast, you can view it and past podcasts on our YouTube channel at the Righteous View. If you
mhm,
enjoy the topics and the discussion have helped you in any way, please subscribe, like, and hit the notifications button. Oh, I forgot to do Prophetess Park. We want to encourage you to tune in
you can
every Thursday.
we winging it.
We winging it, y'all. At 6 p.m. Eastern, right here for thought-provoking topics that will hopefully stimulate conversations that are sometimes hard or uncomfortable.
Yes, 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 yes. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right. So we're still going through this series called "So You Say You Want to Get Married." So tonight's topic is: after all of this, how should I know that this is the person? So after you have had your questions answered, discussions, after you've talked about what your future could look like with each other, after you have gotten into the generational part of it, if there's any history of the illnesses, generational, even generational issues, talking about finances, and now you realize, and you've had the time with each other. Now you're at a place where you're thinking, how do I know absolutely that this is the person?
Because
That's
as you was talking, yeah, because I'm gonna be honest. This is what we would like for our community to really strive for. Now,
mhm,
is this what we're saying? Is this what people are teaching? Ah, you know, that's why we're here to try to get
right,
conversations started
right,
because a lot of people are just getting married and they're not going through any process. And you could
mhm,
be in a faith-based ministry and still don't go through the process like what we're saying because
absolutely,
some of us are still stuck in
mhm,
old thinking
mhm,
where we are giving out, you know, crazy advice. I don't know how else to say that to our women. So many of our women in the faith are still in abusive relationships because of
that's true.
how the information is presented um,
Being disseminated,
during
mhm,
counseling or people putting you
right,
together because thus said the Lord. So this is a really good blueprint, I must say so myself.
mhm,
And I'm really going to use this for my own children. Like, this is everything you need to talk about. So by the time you get to the end, you better
absolutely.
know. You better know.
Right, right, right. And to that point, it's really important. Oh, my father, because y'all, and this is real for us because our upline said things like, when you went to your older sisters and brothers or sisters, and my husband is abusive, my husband is beating me, or you had to call on them to come and rescue you from your
Mhm.
husband because he was abusive. Even if it's not physical abuse, emotional and mental abuse is just as
That's
harmful.
right. Yep.
So we shouldn't lighten that. And sometimes
Right.
people will do that. They will lighten it and make it act like, oh well, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. I don't know who thought of that, but words will hurt you.
Yep.
And so we have gotten a lot of bad information disseminated down from our mothers, our mind, that would say, "Be going home and do what your husband says. Now, next time, maybe don't make him so mad." But
Right.
we all are responsible for our actions, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
don't care what was done, as long as you didn't put your hands on him first. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because it's
Right.
just as bad for a
Right.
woman to be putting her hands on her husband, and then
Right.
you don't expect for him to hit you back because he's a man. Well,
Right.
that's ridiculous, because now you have a man that's being, and there's many cases where sometimes the husband is the one that is being abused,
Right.
because he's been taught, boys don't hit
Right.
girls. Boys don't hit girls. That's what we were taught when we were younger. But then now that brought out a whole problem within our communities, where now you have some women who are
Mm.
abusive and will abuse because they know that their husband will not hit them back. So we've been given bad information that it's okay to stay with that person even if they are
Right.
abusing you. That's your husband. You need to go home and do what your husband says. Blah, blah, blah. No, you need to go and get into a program and get out of there. Call the police, get him
Yeah.
arrested. At this point, and it's sad to say
Right.
that within a Hebrew
Right.
community. Let me tell you what they did. Nobody in a biblical Hebrew community, back in the culture of the Hebrew walk, a word based walk, 10 men would show up at that man's
Right.
house and would call him out and would approach him about beating on his wife.
Right.
Nowhere in the Torah does it give, or the scripture does it give a man the right to beat his
Right.
wife. She's not your child. And if it's that bad where you feel like you got to lay on hands, then maybe you'll need to think
Mm.
about counseling, or maybe you need to think about, maybe you are not meant to be
Yeah.
together. And those are hard questions and hard discussions that we sometimes don't want to have, and a lot of times are our upline. Now we're a little more
Right.
vocal because we have learned that we
Have
have
to.
to be, and that if we're not, it's death to our
That's right.
downline, to our daughters and our daughters'
Mm-hmm.
daughters. So we've decided, and many in our generational, our group, 50 and above, and 50 and
Yeah.
60, have decided, no, we're going to start
Yep.
talking to the
Yeah.
daughters. So we're trying not to continue that thing, and tell them the truth, and and call that man in
Yeah.
question. And if you're part of a faith-based group, even if you're Christian in a church, no church leader should be telling you that you have to
Right.
stay with a man he is being
Mm-hmm.
abused. So this information that needs to be disseminated to our young people, it needs to be in
Mm-hmm.
truth. And we really need to express to our daughters that you are worth more than that. You do not have to stay in an abusive
Right.
relationship. No, Father Yahweh or God has not called you to live in an abusive relationship. I don't care what anybody says. You know what? You can give Prophet so and so my name, and you can give my WhatsApp information too, and I will tell them that they're a liar if they say that God told them to tell you that you need to remain in an abusive relationship. That is not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, it may be a God,
Right.
but it's not the God of the Bible.
Yeah.
No, it's not the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that would ever tell a woman that she is to remain in an abusive relationship where that's going on. So we have to be really in sitting down after you've done all these questions and answers, and then you've even, I mean, Christina, it makes sense to even go to your upline, and even if you don't have a mother figure in your life, find one.
Right.
Find
Yep.
a mother figure. You know, I
Yep.
talked about when we were in Washington, D.C. Find a Mrs.
Yes.
Withers. She, she is
She
there.
is.
Find her and have her help you. Sit down and talk it
Yeah.
through. Someone who is wise, someone who's not just going to tell you, I mean, tell you that you're being silly or you're being because you're looking at red
Mm-hmm.
flags.
Mm-hmm. Red.
Red
Red.
flag
You
poison,
know,
crimson
like,
red.
and that's the thing now. Like she said, we are vocal, and I am. And people have came to me, and I was the only one out of the group of ministers, pastors, whatever you want to call it, that gave this advice to a
Mhm.
person who everybody said, no, you should marry him. He good in ministry, and he had all of these ministry things, right? So I'm a listener because I'm going to listen to you. I want to hear the whole story. And so
Right,
when you tell me that they are
right.
good in ministry, but I hear as a man, they have not been taught. And I
Uh-huh.
can pick up that
Uh-huh.
you gonna be in ministry all right, but you're gonna be poor. Y'all gonna be in and out of devastation. Y'all not gonna be grounded. You're gonna be losing your church or your assembly every 2 seconds. You're going to be in serious trouble, and you can choose. Because see, this is the thing. Another thing that I don't 100% agree with. This is controversial.
Mhm.
Growing up in the church, looking at these prophetic words that are given to people saying, this is your husband. I have seen time and time again where that word has been given and that marriage was a disaster. Oh, thus said the
Absolutely.
Lord. And I
Absolutely.
am totally
Absolutely.
now. Do I believe that some people are meant to be together? Yes, because you see it in the Bible. But everybody want to be like, oh, Rachel, and you're not like Rachel. I'm sorry. There are
Jacob.
marriages in the Bible that were predestined because of what the
Absolutely.
Most High. So we all believe that our
Yes.
marriages are predestined.
Absolutely.
But I
Absolutely.
believe that the Most High give you choices and put people in your path that He
Yes.
prefer you to be with. Oh yes,
Correct.
He do not want you
Correct.
to be with the jackalade that you picked the first time, and this is why you
Right.
have a second chance, right? And so I know He was like, knock knock, you keep not that. That's not the part, baby.
That's not the
Baby,
person.
come back to the remedial class. I need to teach you. So I got it right, and I chose the person because guess what? When all of the people in my certain group was kind of like, no, I don't know, it's because they were hurt and they were lacking. And so
Right. Right.
I had to go find Mrs. Withers outside of that group
There you go.
and hear some sound wisdom outside of the group. because I
That's
was
right.
ready to make a church mistake. And
Let me tell you.
they would, I'm sorry, but they would have paired me with a big effeminate man playing the drums because I was so sick of that. Quit giving me them little effeminate men on the drums and then directing the choir. Do it look like I need that? I do not need that. I do not need a man in church 24/7, but he cannot be a man, but he in church. That's what I'm
Man.
talking about. And I go against stuff like that. I want to hear the whole package. Besides him going to church, besides him being a Hebrew, showing up to every feast day,
Absolutely.
is he a man? Because if he's missing those foundational pieces and you come to me and you ask me, I'm going to tell you no. Y'all need to chill out. And you need some counseling, and then you're going to see clearly after you take the ministry stuff, put it to the side and say,
Correct.
Can he be a man? Because I'm sick of these. I'm serious, y'all. I'm sick of these ministers and pastors and leaders doing that. And they put together people and they be devastated. I ain't saying none of that. You jack-leg Negro. None of that.
Man, I have seen it over and over and over again. Over and over again. Oh, this is your husband. This is your wife. They come together and it's a disaster. God told me that this is your husband. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the reply to that, ma'am, is I'm going to wait for him to tell me.
Exactly. Why you ain't telling me?
So when he said that to me, because I have a relationship with the Most High too.
You supposed to.
So I'm going to wait for him to say it to me, and then I will see, and we'll get together and maybe talk and see how things go. But sometimes I think we get so caught up on whether he's in the church, whether he's in a Christian, whether he's a Hebrew, a believer, whether he is this, whether he is that, and we miss out on all the other stuff that he's not. That is going to build and make a happy marriage and lasting relationship. Remember, this is not just you are not just picking a Pilates partner. You're not just picking a running partner or a basketball partner or whatever sport, whatever thing you enjoy doing. This is not just a bingo partner, but this is a life partner who you are going to share the rest of your life with. Everything. So I heard a lady, I'm not going to say her name because but she's going to know who I'm talking about when I say this. And we were in one of our talks, and she looked at me and she said, I just really don't know if I want to share my bed with somebody. And I said, well, that's probably going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be a problem. But those are the things that we have to be real with ourselves about, and real with a person who we know and trust. And sometimes these people who claim to be flowing in the prophetic, it's really pathetic because they are not flowing in any spirit but their own. And they are not hearing the Most High no more than, I believe that frog outside the window can give a word better than some of them, you know, because they go out and then they think that they have the right to start picking and pulling people together. I heard claim to be a prophetess, and she, you know, in her early 30s, never been married, and up on the floor prophesying and saying, I need to prophesy to some of these married couples. I can I can tell you how to stay married. I'm like, child, sit down. Take 7 seats. Because you ain't found out how to get married in the first place. You ain't got no husband. How you going to minister to a married couple? Why would that even come out of your mouth? Stay in your lane. And what happens too many times, oh my Father, people getting put together, and because the bishop said, we came out of an organization that, I don't know that they still go to their bishop, but back in the day when me and my husband got married, you would. And if he said yeah, then it was fine. If he said no, then just, so we already had the conversation. So how we're gonna feel, and we were like, okay, well, whatever. And that's how deeply we were embedded in this church organization. And some of y'all know about it because some of y'all was embedded in them churches like that too. So whatever the bishop said, that's what was going to be happening. So when we went to him, he said yes, he approved. He said he had no he didn't have anything negative or whatever to say. He said it's fine, yes. And so we went on, got married. But there were other people that we know of that it was disastrous. And I think that's why he himself stopped, because people get married, and I'm saying, okay, and then they go on to get married, and next thing you know, they come in and he's beating me, and he's violent, or she's cheating on me, or just all kind of nonsense going on. We have set people in the church in a position, these leaders in a position. Look, I'm a leader. Christina, you're a leader. Deborah is a leader. Patricia is a leader. We all have ministries and have viable ministries that we are dealing with people all the time. But some of these ministry leaders have placed themselves in a position where they don't belong.
Right.
They do not belong all in your house. They don't belong. It's not fair for a couple to come to you and you say, no, don't marry her, but marry that one over there. All that kind of, we take the power that's ourselves, the Most High is given to us, and we hand it off to somebody else. And they're trying to figure out their life.
Yes, that's right.
So that's right. The disaster, but go to someone. I'm telling you, fine. That's my call. Sit down.
Yeah.
And talk. A woman with wisdom, who is going to tell you the truth. She's not going to just say anything because she wants to make you feel good, but she is truly has your best interest at heart. And a lot of times those people will be our people, our mother. My mother's going to tell you the truth, because I remember when one of my brothers was getting ready to get married, and when they went to her,
we could kind of see.
Am I still on?
Yeah, a little bit. We can see you a little bit. We can hear you. Yeah, I know.
Oh, because it was saying that my a little shaky.
Yeah,
we're in the rainy.
Yeah.
Pouring down, and it's pouring down. We're supposed to go on the air at 10, so of course it's easing up, I think, out there now. So the internet connection might be off. But the thing of it is, if you can find a person, I remember my mother told my sister-in-law, I will never forget that, because I was easy. on the comment. And my mother said, now, I mean, okay, you want to marry him, but I'm telling you, he's not ready and you're not getting a good husband.
Right.
And man, if she wasn't on point, that marriage was rocky. It was rocky the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother just really, she was such a inspiration that my sister-in-law, she's still my sister-in-law. She was like my big sister. And well, she still calls my mother mama. They still have a close relationship. But my mother was never, gave her any kind of shady answer or acted like because this is my son, it's all good. Mm-mm. My mother was one of those mothers that would tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you need. Somebody who will help sit down and just talk it through. Talk it through with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Meet somebody who you know and trust for lunch and say, look, I've been dating or seeing this person Joe for 2-3 months, 2 or 3 6 weeks or whatever it's been, and these are some of the things that I see. I personally like lists. I like pros and con lists. I like virtues and vice lists, to be able to. So it helps my brain be
Right.
able to think on things and really be able to say, okay, just how important is this? How important is that? But if you kind of write it down and meet with
Yep.
someone who will sit down with you and talk it
Yep.
out, a sister, and don't just pick somebody who is going to be a yes person.
Right.
Not the person
Yeah.
you want. No, you
Yeah.
don't just want a yes
It's not.
person. That's not good. You want
Yep.
somebody who's going to tell you the truth. You want somebody who's going to say, girl, I saw him out with somebody else 2 days ago. I mean,
That's a shame too. But it's true. But some women don't prefer you. I've heard this argument, and y'all can chime in out there. Do you prefer somebody to tell you that they saw your significant other out there with somebody else, or do you just want to find out on your own?
on
Because
your own.
it's a big thing out there with women that just, and I'm like, I'm not
That
one
they
of them.
get
Like,
upset.
listen, they do, and they take it
That
out
they
on
get
you.
upset when you tell them.
It's such a, but I feel like don't ask me if you don't want to know. So don't come to me. If it's something that you still don't,
The same
don't
way.
come to
You sure you want to? Are you sure you want to know? Because I'm gonna tell you the truth.
because
Tell you what I see. I want,
exactly.
and if I hear, because I have heard from the Holy Spirit concerning people and couples.
Right. Right.
If I hear that, I will tell you what I
Mm-hmm.
heard from the Holy Spirit. Now,
Mm-hmm.
whether you take it or you put it in file 13, if I feel called to to give it to you, or you ask,
Right.
and you, I will wait until the person asks, or if I really feel a push
Right.
by the Holy Spirit to tell you what He said to me, concerning,
Yep.
and I mean, you have to really decide whether you want to really hear the truth or not, and
Yeah.
just be truthful to yourself.
Yeah.
Can I live the most? Um, I think a sister, dear friend of mine, said to me one time, in a, you know, a relationship. I just don't want, I don't see that being my life with him. How, as they were, seeing each other.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just really being, I just do not, I I I don't see him, me one, I don't see it. I don't want that to be my life, the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I think that's a level of maturity that, and just like my other friend who said, I don't know if I want to share my bed with anybody or my house. I don't know if somebody else in my house. I need to thine own self be true. You have to really, because the man is going to have to live there. I mean, unless
Mm-hmm.
you get another house or a bigger house, and what are you going to do? Do he stay in one room? You stay in another room? I mean, I've heard of
Yeah.
couples doing that. Um, you know, that wouldn't be us of
Yeah.
couples
Yeah.
doing that. And some stayed together, some eventually, they broke it off and left, and separated and eventually divorced. But we have to then define what is marriage. What does marriage look like to you?
To you, yeah. Yeah, to you. Because, and do you trust yourself enough to make a decision? You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like a lot, I don't think a lot of women, just from my observation, trust themselves. Because even though I went to, you know, different women,
Mhm.
I know the Most High how He deal with me, right? And He deal with me in visions, and He
Mhm.
talks. And so when I saw myself, I saw what my husband would bring to me, but He also told me what I was gonna have to go through in order to grow and be who we are today. Like, so,
Uh,
and when I heard it, I was like, but it wasn't for me when I heard it, and the Most High told me the truth of who my husband, the whole thing, who he was, and how we were gonna have to grow together, and the things I would have to go through. For me, it was such a beautiful moment because he was leaving it up to me to say yes or no. And that's what I want women to understand. The Most
yeah,
High loves you so much that He is going to give you the brutal truth and
absolutely,
leave it in your
absolutely,
hands to choose.
absolutely.
And is it, like she said, is it a deal breaker? Did you write it down, or do
Come
you know
on,
your deal breakers, your pros
come
and cons?
on.
And for me, what the Most High told me that we will have to grow through, it wasn't a deal breaker. I was like, well, I could deal with that because I
Correct.
got things on the table that I need to grow and mature into.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and so you got to know what your deal breaker is. And you got to trust yourself to
Absolutely,
make your own
is absolutely.
decision. Like, and then you're going to be put to the test. Do you have a relationship with the Most High, or do everybody
True.
around you have a
So
relationship and you go to them based on
so,
their relationship so you can get your answer? Like,
there you
at the
go.
end of the day,
Absolutely.
it was left up to me to say that is who I wanted to
There
spend the
you
rest
go.
of my life with. It
Mhm.
was in my hands. And I think women are not secure enough in their decisions to really trust themselves. That's why they go to everybody else. And you should. But at the end of the day, you cannot say, well, they told me to do it.
Mm-mm. You
That's
have to make your decision. The
yes,
decision has to be the ball. What we say, the ball is in your court.
yes,
Bottom line,
yes.
Father, the Most High is this. He, he. You know what? Let's just be flat out. I'm gonna just go straight out biblical on you right now. Um, but He is a God of choice.
Yes.
He says, choose this day. Choose ye. That's what Moshe said. Moses said before he went and took his rest. That's what Yehoshua, Joshua said. Choose this day whom you will serve. Ezekiel, I believe, yes, he says the same thing. Choose this day. You choose. So if he says choose, it means he's the God of choice. He gives us a choice. He's never, since even from the Garden of Eden, Adam and Hava, Eve fell, brought all of mankind down into sin and degradation. The word says he brought that when they sinned, that the whole earth became corrupt. And the earth even did it even know, we even know that's when the earth made a tilt and a shift because of the sin that had happened. The word says that the sin went down into the earth round. So if he allowed choice from the beginning, you still have a choice now. For people to say you don't have a choice, I mean,
that's crazy.
Yes. No. So bishop, pastor, prophetess, whoever says to you, husband, then you need to step back and you just need to say, well, I'm going to wait until the Most High, until God talks to me and tells me. And plus, I got to wait and check this man out. First of all, I've heard people point out people to other people. The person was married.
There you go.
Just running your mouth. That was insane. I was like, the man is married. Did you ask God what you should do about his wife? I mean, come on. So people will say anything that they think, but you don't have to go by that. The choice is yours. That you, God, Father Yahweh is not going to push you into marrying somebody just because. Now, I believe, I truly, and you know, Christina, you said this earlier, are people who are meant to be together. They found each other and they truly fit like a glove, that they are meant to be together. Believe that. But there is comes a time where you as an adult right, correct, sensible thinking woman, that you have to step back when someone says that and say, okay, well, I'm going to wait until God reveals that, or the Most High reveals that to me. If not, and then, you know, even if we have people watching who are not faith-based and don't, you know, have that kind of relationship with the Most High, there's still those questions. If somebody comes to you and says, I believe that y'all would be a good match, what are you going to do? You're going to first meet the person, get to know the person, start to learn about each other and each other's ways. You're not going to just go and jump. I mean, there are some people who did, you know, knew their spouse only 1 or 2 weeks, and next thing you know, they were, you know, jump the brook and going to get married. Now, some of them still married. I mean, how I believe that there are those that truly are meant for each other. You know what I'm saying? I believe that. But when you start talking about just somebody prophesying to you, then you need to take that, do what Miriam did. What the scripture say Mary did when Gabriel, the messenger, came to her and spoke that word in her ear, said that she hid it within her heart, that she sat on it. She sat on it.
She waited.
This angelic being just came to me and said to me that I was getting ready to have a baby, and I have not even been touched by a man. So when somebody says something to you, then we have to do our due diligence. And I think that's, Christina, what we tend to not do sometimes. We don't do due diligence, and we will take on a word. I did a teaching a couple of Shabbats ago, and do we continue the traditions of our forefathers, whether they break the structure or the worship to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob or not? Do we just do them because our forefathers have done them? Or do we stop and find out the foundation of these things? And in one of those slides, the Greek word for it was in the it was about worshiping other gods, and it was a Greek word. And the Greek word, the etymology of the word was that we take on a belief because of the person who gave it to us. Not because it was true, but only because it was the person who gave it. So my grandmother, who I love, I continue to do this tradition because my grandmother, who I believe was righteous, said this is okay to do. But we have to do is do our due diligence, because we need to do our due diligence and find out about this person. Are they a good fit for me? Is there a history of abuse in his family? Is there a history of addiction in his family? You know, is there we went out and we had drinks and he went way overboard and got drunk. Is this an addiction? Is this something is this a one-time thing? Was he just nervous because we were getting to know each other and he was trying to, knock the nervousness off? Or is this something that happens all the time? Is this a continual something I'm going to have to deal with? We have to be able to look at these things and really make a wise decision. And a woman who is more mature, or someone who I trust, who has stood the test of time, and I can trust her word, what would she say?
Do we got
and really
do we got a time frame? Because I know, if like for the lovers that were just meant to be and you just but for the rest of the people, who is there a time frame? Because I'm just gonna say my husband, because I asked the men, in our mental wellness group when we did femininity, we asked the men, and my husband straight up said, let me tell you something. A man will drag out a relationship, even though he a good man and he want to get married, but he'll drag it out as long as you let him. And I was like,
you let him drag it out.
He said, I'm just being, you asked me, y'all know how, if y'all ain't never met my husband, okay? And I was like, and so I can't say, because he knew, and we were older too. So 6 months engaged, 1 year married. So all the men say they knew like maybe a few months out, that that woman was
Mhm.
marriage material and that they were married, but they will drag out the relationship. And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? You're right when you think about, like, I wanted to be married, and
Mhm.
they would drag it out. And I remember one bishop said he did the opposite. He said, "You gonna keep praying for that man, and God gonna give him to you." And it freaked me out because I didn't even think he knew I was praying for him. Like, it freaked me out, and I knew that I needed to stop. This is why you gotta have your own relationship, because I was gonna pray this person into my life to be my husband and go in there all the time. I am a listen. I had to chill out when I got married. That's another discussion. When that when that when that prophetess said, Cena, you're gonna be in the bed, before marriage, you're gonna be in the bed with your husband, and that Bible that you're gonna have in the bed with you. And I was like, yeah. She was like, I want you to take it out the bed and put it on the nightstand. And I was
You were actually gonna have the Bible in the bed with you.
when I was single, I am that prayer warrior that will pray for hours and make everybody tired of me. Like, I was that prayer warrior. Where I go all kinds of the day and night, just flying around. That's why it's so much. Like, people, y'all be doing the most. But I believe at that time while I was single, them prayers had to be stored up. Because by the time I got married, the Most High was like, and you're married, you're grounded. You ain't
You're
flying around here in the middle of the night, praying at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're going to get yourself in the bed with your husband, because you got a husband that wants you in the bed. Yeah, y'all, I listen. I told another little girl, she was just like me, frolicking around the neighborhood. God loves you. I see, just out there praying all through the neighborhood. And when she came to me, she said, I want to be married, to her children's father. I said, do you understand that when you get married, all of that, what you doing is going to have to stop, because you got to understand you are on earth. And the type of husband that she had, he wasn't even in the faith. She was trying to win him over or whatever.
yeah.
And do you
That's
know,
probably not the way to do it.
and it wasn't. But a couple of months after, she called me and said, Tina, you was right. Like, all that frolicking around, and you go into ministry all day and night. You got to know what type of husband that you
Yeah.
are going to have, and you have to know that you have to be grounded in marriage. And this is for all my super prayer warriors, because I know y'all out there listening. Y'all don't do nothing. Y'all don't comb your hair unless the Holy Spirit tell you. You can't even pick out a dress on your own, because the Holy Spirit got to tell you what color and what dress. Like, you have to understand. I know, because that's the whole thing. But you got to understand that when you get married, it's a ministry. Yes, it is, but it's on earth. You in the
Right.
bed. You have
It is
marital
physical.
duty. It's very physical. You are
Physical.
outside of
Absolutely.
praying. He like what he like. He like the way you look. He like the way you shape. He like the way you walk. He like the way you talk. You gotta understand that it for me. That's why she said, get that Bible out of the bed, because she knew that I wasn't going to understand that I had to be very physical, you
Mhm.
know, in the
Mhm.
relationship, not just having sex. You need to
Right.
know your man. They are physical creatures, and they like to look with their eyes. And she
Right.
knew I was gonna have to get out the clouds and come down to earth. So you really need to um how much time, for your little prayer word yourself to pray him on in, and then how much time are you gonna wait and to know that it's an earthly ministry.
I I don't I cannot believe when I hear married women who say that they stay in their prayer closet for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours.
I'm telling you, that would be me.
And your husband is out there.
They do it.
I know.
They out
Okay,
there
so
listening.
what are you praying about? Because you need to be praying that man's still out there when you come out there praying. Because I don't know that I would still be sitting out there waiting for you. I'd be done got in my car and went. Well, I mean, because marriage is a union. It's a union. And that's one of the things that you have to stop and ask yourself. Do I want to remain in this position like Shaul or Paul said, that when a woman or a man is not married, then what is concerning the kingdom, that's what they're all about, or should be all about. How to help advance the kingdom.
Yes.
But when a woman or a man is married, it's like, how do I please my husband or my wife? Because that's the one that that's your first ministry.
They don't believe it.
That's your first ministry. So if you're talking about getting married and you're one of these Daisy Doolittles that want to run around all over the neighborhood and lay hands on everybody, because I used to do that. And the Holy Spirit said to me one time, I'm running around doing my little run around thing, and I'm just, oh, bless you, bless you, bless you. I'm doing my run. Bless you, bless you. And the Holy Spirit said to me, how you gonna bless what I already cursed? I stopped.
Yep.
And I remember thinking to myself, that's right. Everybody on the earth does not belong to him. Everybody on the earth is not the seed of the righteous.
That's right.
Now, Messiah tells us that because he said that a man planted a field and then a man came in at night and planted an evil seed within that field. He was talking about the earth, and he goes on and says, I'm talking about the earth. So the enemy, Father, y'all planted in the earth, and then the enemy came and planted his seed in the earth. And so around trying to bless everybody in the world is not, no. So we have to get to a place while you're doing all of that. I would never want to disrupt somebody's ministry or what they feel like they've been called to do. But there is a level of wisdom there. And if you are talking about getting married, all we are saying is that you have to understand that marriage is that your physical presence needs to be there and your mental, emotional presence needs to be there. He don't need to be trying to tell you about what's happening with those bills.
Yep.
And you sitting around and saying, hallelujah, thank you,
praying.
Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Prayers. Okay. We may need to get a second job, or we may need to do something a little different, or we may need to pull back in other areas. We may need to cut off the cable and get rid of this over here because we've got too much going on. You know, he's trying to talk business, earthly, physical things for living, and you talking about spiritual things. It's like my old Pastor McCullough in Washington, D.C. said, you so heavenly bound, you ain't no earthly good. You got a husband on earth. So you have to be in in a position where you understand, okay, we have to bring it in. Nobody says that you can't have
Right.
your time in your
Right.
closet. Many times getting up early in the morning,
That's
6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, going in the bathroom before the day gets started and praying
right.
and reading my devotion and then going back and get it. But
Yeah.
this after everything else
Mhm.
was done because I had a
I mean,
family.
hello.
I had a husband and we had 2 children that were school age. So I could
Right.
not be up in the bathroom praying all morning long, and them kids got to get in the bathroom to try to brush their teeth and wash their face and get ready for school. Because that's my prayer closet. Y'all got to wait until I finish my prayer. Come on. But we would go there
We
thinking
do.
this is what the Most High wants us
We
to
do.
do. And it's not that sometimes we have ordained ourselves to this stuff. We've done it
There you
ourselves.
go.
He
There you
never
go.
called us to do that, because the
That's
first
true.
thing, Father is going to acknowledge that a husband. Boom. Bottom line. First thing, he's like, look, I gave him to you. I gave you the husband.
Hello.
So you need to
Please.
take care of that. Make sure that's good. And we're gonna, I'm gonna make everything you walk in my righteous walk, and I'm gonna bless you. But to just be completely oblivious to everything that's
You can.
around you,
And I know this is gonna ruffle some
and,
people's feathers.
and you know,
That it is. But from experience, because I'm talking from experience, being one of those
mhm,
prayer warriors that was just over the top.
yes,
And at the beginning of my marriage, I was responsible at this church for the prayer watch. So each lady had a prayer watch, and I would
mhm,
start. And I remember that my husband is on the road working or whatever. He come home, and I was not. I don't know what was going on with me because I think I was teetering over to that super spiritual side, and I was not
mhm,
having sex with my husband like he wanted me to. But I would
mhm,
get up and go to that prayer. I gotta get up and go to prayer. And I know I can easily go into that. You know what the Most High told me on that prayer watch? He let me start praying and he
mm,
said, I need for you to get up and go be with your husband. And literally, it was in the
wow,
middle of me praying, and I'm da, 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 and he said, get up and go and be with your husband. And I got up. Do you hear me? In the middle of that prayer session, and I
yeah,
got in my car and I went and I was with my
I
husband.
got to go.
And because that's what I'm saying, like y'all can get mad all you want to, but I am the face of the overzealous prayer warrior. And I know my kids still y'all know that movie with the lady that had the prayer closet and she would pray. Y'all know that movie, that Christian movie.
Um, yeah, the
The
war
war
room.
room. My kids,
War,
as soon as they saw that, and they was adults, and they called me, "Ma, that's you, that's you, that's you." And I was like, I was so embarrassed because they remember. They really believe. Now I've calmed down, but they really believe. They was like, "Ma, that is you." So I'm not saying making fun of that because again, I really believe I laid good foundation my
right,
marriage and what
right,
what is happening.
right. Absolutely,
But the Most High said, "Get up and go be
absolutely.
with your husband. Do not come. You cannot come before him." And that's why I'm like with you. What
Wow.
are you praying, and who are you listening to? Because he can't be talking to
Yeah,
us like this and not talking to you like that. I just
correct.
want to know
Right.
who you praying
Absolutely.
to, and how are you listening? Because he's going to tell you after a while to get up and go take care of that business. You at prayer watch, but you may, like she said, need to get a second job. But you at the prayer watch, you at the church 24/7, but you may need to go and get a little part-time job.
And what is up with being at the church
24/7.
every single day of the week? Come
I
on
know
now.
I was.
You are if you are trying to be a look. And I guess because I was a pastor's kid,
Uh-oh.
I wasn't about to, I got to a place where I watched my mom and dad, and I was like, I ain't about to be up in that place all the every time, all day long.
Yeah.
I need to have a
Hello.
life. I need to have so my husband and I, we've been in ministry for many years. And I was talking to our daughter and I said, we've been in ministry all our little life. I mean, he was a minister most of his life. And then I'm a pastor's kid. So, it was everything in the church. We always had to be there. We were in a church where they did. We went to church like 4-5 times out of the week, maybe 4 times out of the week when we were kids. And so my mother and father were really they really, my mom and dad did a really good job in trying to be uh give us a wise plan so far as homework, schoolwork, going to church, because that church was open services every night. And because my dad was the pastor, he had to be there. And then there were times when it was youth night, and that would be a night where he could rest and the youth pastor could take over. But then that meant we were still having to be there because we were the youth. So by the time I got up some age and my husband and I started dating, I knew that I did not want that to be my life. And I mean, I wasn't very happy that he was a minister.
Look, I'm the same way.
Because I wasn't looking for that.
Same way.
I was not.
Nobody want that.
I was not no minister.
Nobody want it.
And I thought to myself, well, as long as he doesn't go anywhere and get a church, a ministry, right? Send him to be a pastor. Good, I'm good. Long as we don't go down that road. A few times, but it was on a slippery slope. I was like, Father, help me, because if they call him up there, it's gonna be not a nice time. It ain't. That service is not going to go well. They might have to shut the doors because it's not going to go well. And I had already went to my mother and I said, Mom, I'm telling you, if we go out here, if they call James up there, it's going to be a problem. I'm telling you. I said, so I'm going to just give you a heads up. And my mother was always like, oh, Lord, please, because she knew I was going to do it. If I said it, I was going to do it. I said, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do so you will be ready. I said, I'm giving you a heads up. If they call him up there, I'm going up there and standing up there with him. And if they say that they're sending him somewhere, I'm going to tell the bishop, if you send him somewhere, know that you have broken up a family. Wow. Because I'm not going. I am not putting up with these hard-headed people out here. I saw my mom and daddy do it, and it was struggle our whole life. I will not. So you send him, you have broken up a marriage. I was going to turn around and go back to my seat and sit down. Happy when those couple of times where we didn't have that. So I was always a prayer warrior, but I didn't get to that level where it just went so overboard, because I always, and maybe because of my experience with my mother and father being a pastor and pastor's wife, and I saw the result of what a overweighted thought of ministry can do on overburdening a family. And
Yeah.
I never wanted that. I wanted to be there for my children. I didn't want them to be part of stuff and do things and have all kind of opportunities. And I'm not there watching them. I
Right.
don't want to be church. If they are doing something, guess what? I'm not going to go to church. I'm going to
Right.
go to
Right.
their program.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm going to nurture and foster these beautiful gifts and talents that Father has put in them. And we were adamant, and my husband was on board with that. We never missed any of their performances and stuff.
Mhm.
And I remember one time when Calvin was young, and he would laugh if he was listening to this, because I know he'll remember. We made him this big. They had this Easter bonnet
Oh my God.
competition at the church, and we made him this big. It looked like a Mad Hatter hat, big black hat,
Right.
green bow on the side, and everything.
Oh.
And James was called to play at another church in Brooklyn or something like that. So we go over there, and I remember being so upset that I didn't see him walk down and, model his hat that we
Yeah.
had made for him. But I think that's the only thing we missed. We were adamant not to, so we didn't go. I didn't find myself overboard in that area because of what I had seen, growing up. And I didn't like how the church took everything from you. And I said, I remember saying to myself, and I want y'all to think about this. I remember saying to myself, God only asked for 10%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh no.
That's for 10%.
Ah, she went out, y'all. Wait, let me add her back. Okay.
Oh,
There you go. He kicked you.
yeah,
He asked for 10%.
He asked for 10%. He asked for 10%. And so I said, if he only asked for 10% of our money, of our finances, I said, I'm imagining that's about the same amount, the 10% of this, especially when you are talking about giving. And because you have a family.
You got a time.
You don't have a family.
Right.
But when you have a family, then he is saying you're giving now. Am I saying you'll only give 10%? No, the scripture says love him with all your heart, with all your soul, all your being, with all your strength, all your might, all your generations. You love him. And then I understood that to be that's you passing down that love and that righteous walk of the scripture to those children, and have that loving and committed atmosphere in your family and environment in your family. But that giving to the church, I'm telling you, I was pretty clear on that one right there. I was like, when you start having to give to a point where it's like 90% and your family is only getting 10%, you're going to have a problem. And you're going to have a bunch of your children are going to remember. Guess what they're going to remember? You weren't there.
Yeah. All of the kids. Mm-hmm.
They're not going to remember, oh, she was such a great so-and-so in the church. Other people will talk about that. That'll be your epitaph. When you die, when you transition, that's what people will talk about. Mm-hmm. But what will your children, what will your husband, what your wife be able to say concerning you and concerning home? And I always remember that when I even saw the eulogy of, I think it was, and that wasn't Isaac Hayes, but who was the man that was just a music icon, and his name just went right out of my head. But I remember his daughters talking about how he was never there. But Michael
Yeah.
Jackson and all of them were just talking about how he was their dad. I called him my dad, but his
Wow.
daughters were like, yeah, he
Nope.
was not really home. He really wasn't home. I was like, what a
That
travesty.
is, yep. That's what they say.
So we're talking about wanting to get married and being on that level where you feel your spirituality, your
Mhm.
relationship with the Most High. Yes, you're supposed to love Him with your whole heart, your whole being, with all your strength. But your first, once you get married, your first ministry is to your
Yep.
husband,
Yeah.
it is to your wife. Because if
Yeah.
you're not doing that right, you're not doing your walk with the Most High right. And
That's true.
I can bet you on that.
That's true.
If you
That's
have a, if you have a, if your wife is not pleased with you, or your husband is not pleased with you
mhm.
because you're so heavenly bound
Yep.
doing anything for the church, I bet you that father is not pleased with you either. Because how in the world? That's the word says, how can you love someone who you've never seen? You're a liar. That's what John said. He said,
Hmm.
you're a liar. To say that you love God with all your heart, all your being, and you hate your brother that's right there that you see every
Yep.
day.
Yep.
You're not telling the truth, because you don't love the Most High like that either.
Hmm.
So those things, when you're trying to make a decision, know that it's your decision. It's not your pastor's decision. It's not your, and you know what? And it's not your mom and dad's decision.
Yeah.
It's not your
Right.
grandma and grandpa's. Now, your uncle and aunt, those are people you should be able to sit down and talk
Right.
to say,
Right.
I want to go over this list with them. I mean, some things I've been looking at. He
Hmm.
does this, does that. He does this, which is great. But I see
Right.
this over here. That's
Right.
something I should be worried about. And talk it out with women of wisdom, and even with men of
Yeah.
wisdom.
Yep.
Because, yes, talk it out with them. And not
Hmm.
just somebody who just wants to, you know, get rid of you, give you any kind of word and then get rid of you. But just
Yeah.
going to the, because this bishop or this prophet or prophetess has prophesied this over you, that does not mean that that is what you have to
Right.
go with,
Right.
because it's that person. That's not that's not how it works.
Hmm.
Our we know that the Father gives us choice. We
He
have choice.
does.
We have a choice.
Yes. Yes. And I hope this is helping out as you were talking. I remember I brought this up, and I really would like for those of us, that I was talking about having a rite of passage. I don't know what you would call
Yes.
it, because
Yes.
I know people gonna say, well, I don't have a community like that. I don't have, and I'm about solutions. I'm not about just sitting up talking about stuff all day.
Absolutely.
That burns
That's
me up.
right.
But a group
Absolutely.
of trusted individuals, and we make this team up where, and I've seen this done before, so I know we're not the only one, but we don't have in this side of the community a rites of passage, where we can go to the or the community can come to wise counsel and take their children and even themselves. Like, because that's why I'm calling it a rite of passage and not, using a particular word, because people get so silly with it. But it's some adults that
Right.
need a rite of passage and to sit down because they were not. taught like that, or they didn't have a father, or they didn't have a mother, and they were not taught, and that we have this trusted community. Because I know people like that sound good, but where we get that at? Where we going to that? And so men and women, it's not just a bunch of women, but men and women, um, the elders and some younger people that can help navigate finances, and mental wellness,
Yes, yes.
and what is the other one I wanted? Finances, mental wellness, jobs, career. Like talk
Okay.
about that. Talk about how you are going to give back to the community, charity. I think it's like 5 of them. I have
Mm-hmm.
it all written down, and having different people
Okay.
over that's their expertise and they're gifted in that area, and come together and form this so that people can have somebody to come to, whether it's your child doing a rite of passage or whether it's you that got to do a rite of
Right.
passage because you wasn't
Right.
taught, you don't know, and to leave it open because
Absolutely.
people, they looking for solutions, and they looking for not just solutions but solutions that are safe, because we see a lot of these podcasts, and they be talking crazy and saying whatever, and not having
Mm-hmm.
solutions, just gossiping, and that's not what
Mm-hmm.
we do. We
Just got
really want to
right.
create, because right now we have the mental wellness group. So we're trying to make these safe spaces and starting to collab with other people to come together and not
Yes.
just have the weight on your shoulder, as one ministry,
Right.
but to come together as a community.
Mm-hmm.
So I want people to know that is in the works. And,
Yeah.
you until then, you're gonna have to trust yourself and build that relationship so you can make your own decision. Because there's too many sisters out here.
Absolutely.
And people are getting their children
Absolutely.
taken away. It's so much going on out here in these faith-based streets. I was like, it's becoming almost an epidemic of families getting their children taken away. And then I sit and listen. And I'm like,
That's
but why
it.
would you do
That's
that?
it.
And where's the elders telling you that? Where's your community that says that baby? I don't care what your little friends are saying. I'm saying, where are the elders that's going to tell you that was not a good decision, and this is why CPS is all in your business? You gotta be accountable for the
Mm-hmm.
part that you play. So this is why we're having this
Yeah. Yeah.
marriage discussion, because our families are being torn apart, and it's not always the wicked, evil,
Right.
demonic system. Sometimes when you say something
Mm-hmm.
that sounds crazy to me, and I wouldn't even do that. As a
Mm-hmm.
person who's been walking up for a considerable amount of time, I wouldn't do that. So why would you do that? And you only been walking in the faith 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I can't say what I want to say because this
Right.
is people know. People probably know who I'm talking about, and they put it all on their business, all on social media. I'm like, don't you know CPS is watching you?
All on social.
What you know? What is wrong? Where the elders that's telling you, baby, get off of social media? But what I'm finding out is that some elders are saying stuff, and the young people don't want to hear it. Why? Because they have so much trauma that it sounds like we're taking up for the
Yeah.
system. Or
Yeah.
you understand? No, I'm
Yeah.
as a former nurse, baby, don't do that. That was stupid. You need to have a trained professional with you before you do something like that at home. Like that is just, but we'll talk about that later because it's true, and they coming our way. And I'm like, I hope that person don't reach out to me because baby, I'm gonna tell you what the other elders told you. I did, but the younger people, they just have to have a trusted community. I know that's hard, but some of them, you get that advice, and I'm like, but that's why your kids not coming back. There's a girl that went off to Africa, came back, lost all 5 of her kids, and I was like, and everybody cheering her on with the stuff she was doing, and I was like, you're not getting them kids back, and she don't have her children back. You're not getting them back. You're not.
You know, it's funny you should say that because we see all kind of foolishness over here on the
Mhm.
continent. It's like people get off the plane and leave their brain over the Atlantic Ocean somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't understand what would make a person leave and bring children over here into a foreign. Now you can say whatever you want to say. You want to say, oh, Africa is home, 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 home. Okay, yes, our forefathers did come from this land many generations ago. They did. So it's been more than five. More than five generations, like 6 generations ago. So it's something that now it is when we come here or come back from our ancestry, this is a foreign land. And I know people don't like to hear me talk about that, but you know what? Guess what? I have to tell the truth because that's what it is. It's in a land that we are not used to. We don't know the language, so you can be taken advantage of. When you come, most of these countries, most of Africa, you do have is a very misogynistic, based, male based societies where they look at women like you don't know what you're talking about when you want to build your own home. Like you don't understand, you don't know what you're talking about. Women are mechanics and architects now, but some men over here in this continent still look at women as just being in a house, sit in the house all day and have children. That's what they're used to here, a lot of them. But now women are moving into these positions where they are more the African way modernized. And you have people who are fighting against it. I said, I'm not mad at them. Everything evolves, everything changes. And it's not that it has to change for the bad, but it can change for the better. Absolutely. So when we come here, it just amazes me the things that we will do, and we will lump our children right up in there and think like it or lump it kind of attitude. It's like, wait, you have moved this child away from their entire social and their entire base of support. You have away from all of your support and brought up children. See, these are the things that I don't think we think out. We don't think out. My daughter-in-law, we're talking about how, people moving here, it's just, it's just this fantasy world. That is just, they just fantasize about Africa. Africa is beautiful. The places that we've gone, and we want to go to more. We want to visit all 50 countries. But the thing of it is, we have to use wisdom with all of that. You have to realize one major thing is that you get over here and the laws are different, and they will not check on any laws that govern how you get, it's like they just come and act like they're supposed to be able to do whatever they want to do. Over here, this country got a whole constitution. And guess what? You need to abide by it, or the police will come to your door and put you in jail. In a Ghanaian jail. Yes, they will put you in there. Yes, they will, all day long. There are laws that govern your children, raising children, and they're putting children in school and all of these different things that there's laws governing, even marriage. Our men come over here thinking, oh yeah, God, I can have 3 or 4 wives. No,
Right.
you can have 3 or 4 traditional wives, but a woman on paper, a licensed marriage, legally, you can only be married to one woman. Now that's right here in Ghana. But they get it all. We come over and think we can get 2 or 3 wives. Why you need that? I don't understand.
Right.
But we just come over here and act like these are not countries. These countries don't have laws, and we don't even and that we have to abide by them.
Yep.
And so we've heard all kind of stories. Children being taken, children being sent back to the United States because they were not caring, people being put out of Ghana because they were breaking the law and not doing, people coming over here, going around, riding through, smoking marijuana, buying illegal drugs. That's illegal here.
Right.
It's not legal anywhere in Ghana to smoke weed. Nowhere. It's illegal. So you get stopped. The cops know here. What you think they don't know what marijuana smells like? And this is the thing. When you think, oh yeah, they just they don't know. They just they don't know what. These patrols, just like they train them in every other country. They are very smart. And they will know if you have been smoking weed. And guess what? You are going to pay very heavy, and you may even go to jail for that. Right. So, but people come over here and do all sorts of things, and it's not wise. And then the women come, single women, and the first thing they want, I'm going to get me a Ghanaian husband. Okay, you need to know the culture, because that man has a culture of what wives look like in Ghana, that we don't fit that from the United States and Europe. We don't. And we will have to make ourselves fit into that. But that's one of the things that you need to stop and ask that question. I'm going over to another country. And I'm going to marry somebody from that other country. That's a whole culture change.
That's right.
So then you get into the marriage, you do this whole traditional wedding, and you find out next 2 years he wanted to bring another wife in. And you looking at him like, no, Well, yes, I can, because I'm in Ghana and I can have more than one traditional wife. Right. Now, what you going to do with that? We have to be very wise. This whole marriage session and understanding of marriage and all that goes along with it. We really have to stop just jumping in to something. Just go ahead and jump the broom. Oh, we fell in love.
Right.
Because love is not going to pay the bills. Love is not going to help if you get sick and he don't have a clue or even care about taking care of you. All of those things. Because what if something happens to you and now he has to care for you?
Yep.
But he wants to go over and even take his mama an aspirin if she gets sick. So really, when you get sick, all of these things have to be taken into consideration. And especially y'all, sisters, when we're marrying men, because we're global citizens now, where people are living all over the globe. People are not just staying on one continent anymore or in one country. So you need to find out about the traditions and the cultures of those people before you jump up and marry somebody. And then your life is like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. You mean I don't have a word in what we getting ready to do? I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
say in what we getting ready to do. No, that's not a woman's place. Sit back and let me do this. Oh, but you want to use my money, my American money, to do it. Okay. All of those things have to be taken into account. So
Mm-hmm.
every time I hear a woman say, I'm going to come over there and find me a Ghanaian husband, I say, okay, child, you better find this culture.
Right.
They are not like American men. They are not. Very different. Very different. This culture is very different. And I'm not saying that they're in a bad way. It's just
Right.
different.
Right.
It's just
Different.
something that we are not used to. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand and you have to know that. The Ghanaian men, what I see, the Ghanaian men who have been able to travel, a lot of times, they've gotten professional jobs or they went to school in other countries. So they will travel the world. They may have a little different perspective and a more
Right.
open perspective if they marry. I've heard Ghanaian
Yeah.
men say, Mom or Madam, I want to marry an American. I don't want to marry a Ghanaian woman. I want to marry an American woman or a woman from Europe. I want to from Canada. I want to marry someone from, I don't want a Ghanaian woman. They don't know what they asking for.
Right.
They
Right.
don't know what they asking for. They're just looking at it because they have a really fantasy
Yep.
thought of women. They look at us as being exotic,
Yeah.
you know ooh,
Yeah.
and like you're a trophy.
Yeah.
I am a American wife or my American husband. That's a big thing. So but it's also a big thing when people sitting around the table talking about something and you don't have a clue what they're talking
Right.
about, at least. And then there's a culture of our people in America. There's a culture. We have a culture
Mm-hmm.
of Black America, absolutely. And we have gone through the same, don't care what nobody says. American woman, American man, there's nobody in the world who can understand an American man like an American woman,
Yeah.
especially American Black woman and Black
Yep.
man. No, but they
Yeah.
will not ever understand that. They
Right.
won't ever understand that plight and what we have gone through as a people, you
Yes.
know. So that's a culture that is, among us as
Mm-hmm.
Black Americans
Yeah.
that's something that you can't really teach, but
That's
that's something that we live. So that's something that a person have to take in consideration too. If you're dating or seeing a man who is from another country, you
right.
really need to do your background work on that, and especially those traditions and the things that they do concerning worship and other gods.
Yeah.
Man, y'all, I can't even explain to y'all how important that is. These people over here pray to the ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. Where does the Bible say to pray to some ancestors?
Right.
No, we pray to the Most High, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's who we pray to because the ancestors can't do anything for us. We can honor them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We can give them honor. But to be praying to them and pouring libations and drink offerings and all of that stuff to ancestors, there's some celebrations and things that we, Rabbi and I, my husband and I, we do not go to,
Yeah.
because that's what they're going to be doing,
Yeah.
praying and speaking to the ancestors and pouring out libations and what. Yeah, no, we're not getting caught up in that. Those are the traditions of a people that are ancient.
Right.
And we have to remember that when we go around the world and meet these people, that they have a culture.
Yep.
If we are the woman, most times we're going to be the one that is going to be have to be submissive to his authority.
Yeah.
And once you're married, that's it.
Yep.
You have to submit to that, authority. So,
Well, that's a lot to think of.
then that is a lot. Marriage is just
Mm-hmm.
it. I always say, you think about, all the fantasy part of it, and putting on that, donning on that white dress, and going down that aisle, and the day being all about you and him in that limousine, but yeah, girl, you're going to take the winter. It comes off. It comes off. And most times, after you take that off, you got to put on combat boots. Fatigue, get ready. Get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Fatigue and combat boots. So,
Yeah.
because you're going to be in the trenches. And people always ask, how did y'all stay together and stay married for so long? Child, we were just trying to stay together. Trying to stay in love. We're trying hard to stay married and to stay in love. It's work.
Yes,
And
it
just
is.
like you maintenance your car, you maintenance your house, any large, big, high-end item that you had to pay a lot of money for, you maintenance
Mm-hmm.
it. People will take their marriage and they'll be
You
like,
don't. Yep.
I I didn't buy in for this. I didn't do this. I'm fine. I'm gone. Because they did not take the time to count up the costs and see if you're willing to
Right.
pay that, because it's a
That's
hefty
right.
bill.
Yes,
Marriage
it is.
calls for it. And it's sometimes people say it's 50, and it's just real talk, y'all. People say it's 50-50, but
Not all.
sometimes sometimes it's 30-70, sometimes it's 10-90. Sometimes your spouse can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yep.
And all of the
That's
weight
right.
goes on you. Those search situations sometimes is 100%.
Yeah.
And we're going to move into and talk about that too
Yeah.
as you get
Yeah.
older. And as
Mm-hmm.
you get older and that illnesses come on, or if that illness comes on, you know, your husband, and you have to do everything, then
Yep.
that's something you have to take in consideration. There's a little show that I watch, and if you ever get a chance, it's a great series. It's on Netflix, and it's called Heavenly Ever After, and it's about
Mm.
a Korean couple, and that would be the 100%.
Wow.
There's sometimes your marriage turns out where you are giving 100 because your spouse can't give. So those things you really have to be taken into consideration and be an adult and really think about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't like to do. Sometimes we want to stay in some fantastical world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is this. Look, my husband just fussing at me. Don't act like you remember our anniversary. You never remember our anniversary. I'd be like, you know what? Look, I know. So he'd be like, don't come over here with that. He said, as a matter of fact, this year you gonna plan what we gonna do. Let's see. I, I don't know what you did that
That's
for.
so funny.
Because I'm gonna forget.
I know. Every time I say our ages when we got married, my husband will come upstairs and say, "Now, how old are you again?" He said, "You seem to get that wrong every time you say it." I was like, "Yeah, how old were you?
You know,
You were 15, and I was what, 20, 21? I just turned 21 or was getting ready to turn 21 in June. We got married in May and turned 21 in June. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he said that. So, honey, this time I got it right. You were 19. I was 20.
Look,
And you'll be 21 the next month.
y'all pray for me. And it's not because I don't care about my anniversary. My thought process is I'm married. So, I mean, what? Get out of here.
Right.
He got to work with me. He 100% of the anniversary goes on my husband. I can never get it right. He takes full responsibility for our anniversary. So that's what we're talking about. That's just a real. I'm just keeping it real. Like, he was just fussing at me today. Like, don't even act like you remember. Because I was like, our anniversary is in July. He's like, please don't act like that. Don't come at me with that.
Don't do that. So when they say men always forget, that's not the truth.
I am the one that he'd be like, you don't remember nothing. I mean, he remembered the first time that he saw me and the kids and all of that. I'd be like, oh.
You don't remember that either. Ah, that's funny.
So yes, you got it.
But anyway,
yeah, because but I don't remember kids' birthdays. I remember I was celebrating Mayla and Dominique because they're born a day apart, but I was celebrating their birthdays on the wrong day for years. for years.
Wow, Christina. Just wow. Wow. Just wow.
So I'm that wife that you be like, so this is honest, like, every marriage is different. Every marriage got different stuff that they got to work through.
Absolutely.
You got to know what to work with, because some people get really mad about stuff like that. Like that. Really upset. Yeah. I'm glad he don't, but maybe you are that person that gets upset. Can you deal with a person like me who, I love you, but I got a lot on my mind. I got 5 kids. It's a lot for me to juggle dates.
And everything they're doing, everybody's schedule.
Yeah,
your schedule, their schedule. But
yeah,
I mean, our children have schedules.
And you write them on the refrigerator or whatever.
I'm telling you, you have to keep a calendar. I remember keeping a calendar with all those dates and different things. He was working, I was working, his schedule, my schedule, the children's schedule, what they were doing, and just trying to keep up with all of that stuff. And then you trying to be part of some PT, PTA president, people, that is a lot. So I guess in your mind it said, look, if I can let something go, I can let something drop.
I tell everybody, yes, your birthday. If your birthday in October, on October 1st, is happy birthday, everybody. My family be cracking up like, happy birthday, everybody. April, happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday,
everybody. If your birthday in October,
please don't get mad.
Christina, on that note, we're gonna leave.
Yes. So they be like, what in the world?
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. Okay, so let's go ahead and close out. So I'll just do and
okay,
I'll just do Patricia's. Yeah, you do yours and Deborah's.
Okay. All right, y'all. We close it out. We had a great discussion. We missed our beautiful co-host. She the one that keep us grounded. That's why we say whatever we want. Because usually prophets be like. But I be looking at it and be like, okay. So we better hurry up and come back, because us two together, I don't know about that.
No, right? Especially when we get on certain topics.
Right. We gotta have. So we're going to end it. We thank you for joining us. Our email, again, is therighteousview01@gmail.com. Please send in topics that you feel would be beneficial. If you have a
Yes.
degree or special training in a specific area related to women's health and you would like to be a special guest, please email your bio and we will review it and reply as soon as we can. If you have enjoyed the podcast so far, please tune in and tell a friend. Next week, are we continuing this? We will continue this discussion. Are we continuing making wedding plans in my mind? Uh-oh.
Yes. Yes. Now we done got to the place where we making wedding plans.
Mm.
So if you put a comment in the chat that we didn't address, and I don't think we got any comments. Our folks usually do comment, but we didn't get any comments this week. Then we would, of course, reply as soon as we can through that email venue. But we want to thank you. Thanks to all of our viewers tuning in, and we look forward to another edition of The Righteous View. Good evening, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you